Hi, I'm Christina.
And I'm Matt.
And this is New Ways Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about an experience I've recently had. So, yesterday, I just got back from a 10-day silent meditation retreat. It's technically there, they call it a course called Vipassana. And just to give some context for the viewers and like for you a little bit, I told you about it. But what it is, it's a 10-day silent meditation retreat where technically it's actually kind of like 11 too, because the day you get there, you have to be there, I think, by like 4 in the afternoon. And then I leave the morning of like another day. So it's kind of like 11 altogether. So for the 10, 11 days, you do not speak. Only for certain circumstances, but you don't speak, you do not read, you do not write, you do not work out. You literally are just asked to leave everything behind and come with pretty much just yourself and your clothes and an open mind and heart. And we meditate for a majority of the days, and there's a schedule and we'll get into it, but that's kind of what it is. I'm pretty much just by myself with my thoughts, surrounded by people, but we're not meant to interact.
One thing that was really interesting was like when you talked to me about doing this, you had to apply for it.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. So I kind of want to start there and figuring out like, why did you go about this? How did you go about this? And where did you hear from others about this experience?
So oddly enough, and I was actually reflecting on this when I was there, I was actually supposed to go to this pretty much a year from this month ago. So I applied for the first time about a year ago. Or a year and a few months, because it got accepted to go around it's August 2024 right now. I got accepted to go August of 2023. But around that time too, I had an opportunity to go to Portugal at the same time I was supposed to be at the Vipassana. So I just ended up doing that instead and nixing that and said, I'll go and do another course like another day. But originally I was looking for it kind of because I know at that point I was a little distraught, just like in my mind. I'm not too sure with what. I know it was a time of confusion, but also at the same time too, it's when I really started getting more into meditation and stuff. And that's when my life too in LA was building a lot. And I'm like, I think I need quiet. I'm like, I kind of just want to be with myself for a little bit. So no one told me about this thing called Vipassana. I didn't know what it was. I just started Googling kind of meditation retreats and this and that, and I stumbled upon it. And when I looked at their website, it was crazy. When I looked into like YouTube videos, 'cause I'm like, what is this? That I just found you go online and you look at it and it says 10-day silent meditation, free of charge. And I'm like, huh? So I applied during the application process. It's crazy because you actually have to literally be on the site pretty much the day they go live and open applications, especially for the women's gets filled really fast. Mm-hmm. You pretty much have to be on, and within 15 minutes of it being open, typically it's closed. And then they accept other people for wait lists and stuff like that, but it gets filled up really fast. These applications consist of basic questions, just kind of they do address mental health, definitely, because being in that setting, I feel like you kind of have to be in an okay state of mind. I know other people being there too, talking to them on the last day we were able to talk. They said that anybody who did take like certain types of medications or had a mental health history, they had follow-up questions actually before getting accepted. So yeah, you have to apply for it and get accepted. And from there, that's the gist of it. But I had no idea what it was. I stumbled upon it online. And then oddly enough too, when I started talking about it here in LA, I actually had like 2 friends that have done it before.
The exact same one you've done.
One person went to one up north and one person went to the same one I went to. Okay. But still, like, I don't think the courses vary that much based on location. But yeah, and it's so weird because a lot of people say after doing the course, and I'll share my experience or whatnot, but I was like, so how'd you like it? Nobody said any of like, it was intense, it was this and that. They're all like, I don't really get mad anymore. Like that was everyone's response. Just like, happiness is really within.
Mm.
And I watched a few reviews, but yeah, that's like my first introduction with the facility and Vipassana that's how I found it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to break this down sort of day by day, because I have so many thoughts about what this experience was like, because I know a lot of people, and we've talked about this before, that, you know, sitting with yourself is hard. Mm-hmm. Sitting with those thoughts is hard. And when you're forced to do it, not just for a couple hours or even a day or two, to do it for 10 days is pretty impressive. And so I want to kind of start with sort of a day-by-day experience into what that was like for you going into this. Because I even know when you texted me, you were like, I don't know if I can do this. Like you talked to me about this right before. I texted
you the day I was about to go there, and I'm like, I'm scared.
You did.
I was definitely scared. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to like a rehab or like some facility. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Before I get into this too, I just have one question for you too. Mm-hmm. Is when I told you I was doing this, when you hear your friend is going 10 days to a silent meditation retreat that doesn't charge any money, and what was your thoughts? I
mean, for me, it felt not out of the ordinary for you because you've done so much with your life, you know, between traveling to Bali, you know, going all over the world by yourself. I'm like, okay, this is something that definitely is in that realm of Christina,
thing,
you know, Christina's thing. So for me, it was more about the fact that, well, honestly, what kind of, not going to lie, made me nervous was the fact that you weren't going to have any contact to the outside world for 10 days. And I know that was a big thing. I was like, Christina, what if I died? Like, what if,
like, well, you can't who's call me anyways if you're dead.
Who's gonna tell you, you know, but you know, the fact that we actually were given from you an emergency number.
Yeah.
You know, I realized, damn, this is
because they do serious. Take your phones. Yeah. Like you hand in your phone.
Yeah, this is serious. You know, stuff like that, you know, only in severe emergencies or severe cases are you supposed to contact the center, and then they are able to give you, you know, an explanation of what went on. So it's just, to me, that was like, whoa, this is serious business. So I think also too, for me, you know, we all go through these epiphanies in life and sort of things when you have these moments of realization, maybe something wasn't that great for you, or maybe something was great for you and you realize you want to keep chasing it even more. And a part of me was like, damn, what if you come back and you're like, I've uprooted my life. I'm moving halfway across the world and I'm changing my name, and, you know.
Yeah, you guys, Matt literally on the phone when I was leaving was like, please don't have some sort of existential crisis and like quit our podcast.
Truly.
Or like not come back, please.
I know. I was like, I'm good. I don't want to find a new co-host, please. And this would suck to do it alone. So
he was actually scared. No.
I was.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So was I though. And it's funny though too, because also this center online, they make this very clear. And when you get this, they make it very clear, and you actually sign a piece of paper, let alone it's not an actual prison. It's not an actual like
lockdown facility.
Yeah, lockdown facility. So they can't technically like force you to be there, but they make you sign a piece of paper saying, I am committing to finishing the entire 10 days. They're like, I am here for this entire thing. I believe they like ask you, they're like, do you believe you can stay here for the entirety of the time? Mm-hmm. Like they're very adamant about making sure that you are able to stay for the entire 10 days. And it makes sense though, because since it is a facility based on donations, they're like, we want to make sure people are taking this seriously though, because like that could be another spot that somebody who's really going to get a lot out of it. Mm-hmm. So, and yeah, I remember I told family members too, and they're like, huh, what are you doing? Like, okay, is this some sort of, honestly, like, is this a joke? Is this a cult? Like, nothing's free, huh? So, and it's funny though, because in one of the lessons there, they discussed this. The guy who created it made videos for like certain courses. And he was like, when I first introduced this idea of not charging anything for the center for the 10 days, a lot of people, because it originated in India. And in India, he's just like, the people who lived there were like, what? Like, food's hard enough to come by here as it is. You're going to have people signing up just to come and eat. No one's going to take it serious. Or when he introduced it to the West, everybody in the West was like, nothing's free. Everyone was skeptical. Yep. And oddly enough, though, he's like, people in India didn't come for the food. They actually came to work And then like in the West, people actually started accepting it because it's just like, it is donation based and it's such a beautiful thing that they're doing. They're like, we've had only great results with it being strictly only a donation based facility, and it's a beautiful thing. And the reason why they do that too, and he's like, I don't want to take money, is because essentially it's an opportunity for people in this outside world who are so attached to everything's in our ego to come and live humbly as if they're a monk or a nun for 10 days. And he's like, it also doesn't give room for the ego to be like, I paid for this and I don't like the food. I paid for this and I'm not comfortable. The beds aren't good enough. How could you ever let the ego get in the way and be like, oh, this isn't enough for me, when it's literally based off of the kindness of strangers?
Wow.
So,
I mean, it seems like it's definitely a fascinating perspective, right? Because it strips you of everything that you are, and it brings you down to just the humanistic nature of you and your internal. Yeah. Which is fascinating. So I would definitely want to get into that. And so for that being said, I definitely want to come from almost like an interview type perspective on this, because there's so much that we need to discuss. And so with
there's so much I want to say too.
Yeah,
so yeah,
truly. And so, so I just want to really start out, especially because I know me as well as the viewers want to know, what was that first day like walking in there?
The first day was actually decent, because you get there and it's already like, you have to arrive between, I think, the hours of like 2 and 4 o'clock. If you're going to be late, they ask that you tell them just so they know that you're actually going to show up. And you like sit down in this, I don't know, you sit down in front of somebody who's running the place, and you just fill out this sheet. They ask you, they're like, is this like, what address did you sign up for? What's an email address? They ask you your occupation. They ask you, like, do you have any type of traumas or things that might come up? Just like very basic questions, to be honest with you. It's just check-in. And then you sit down, you talk to somebody for a minute, hand them your paper, you sign the sheet saying, I am fully committed to staying here for the 10 days. And then I think I got there at like almost about 4, and they're like, take some time with your phone. Here's your room number. Go to your room, get settled. But like, please turn in your phone by 5. And that was pretty much it. As the first day I went, I got my room. It was an independent room. I didn't have a roommate or anything. No, it wasn't anything spectacular. It was pretty much just a very small room with a bed in it and like a light and a clock. But I mean, I'm there to meditate. I'm there to be humble. So like, it's fitting. Facility was nice. It was very, very clean. They had like updated facilities. So nothing like old or like camp-like even. It was just very basic and neat. And then the first day was pretty much, we turned in our phones. They fed us a light dinner, told us kind of how the next day was going to go, where to look for certain information. And then we ended the night with, like I said, a small meal, and then we meditated. And then they played the first video, and that was it for the first day.
So immediately, as soon as you walked into the facility, obviously they had to communicate with you. Were you able to then turn around and communicate with them? Or was it like, as soon as you walked in that facility, it was immediate silence?
No. So after the first meeting, because I even talked to some of the people there for a little bit, like the people who were there early, everyone was sitting at a table. We walked up, kind of talked briefly, introduced ourselves to a few people. Mm-hmm. There were a total of 30 men and 30 women. I want to say around there. I counted the seats in the meditation room to get an idea. And I talked to a few people just in passing. We had the meeting, and after the meeting, they're like, after this light meal, when we go to the meditation room, talking is finished. So for like the first like 2 or 3 hours when you get there, because you have to communicate to check in and give information. Yeah, it was fine. But after that, like that nighttime hit and we were done.
Wow.
No talking.
So what happens if you broke the talking rule?
Thankfully everybody is there to work, so nobody really did. And there were certain instances where you could talk. So for instance, every day there was like, I'll talk to you about the schedule, because the schedule was the same every day for 10 days too. There was a certain hour in the afternoon where if you did have any questions or concerns, you could talk to the teacher in like her office and ask your questions or your concerns. Or there was a manager there for each side, the men and the women. And you could ask the manager in passing if like there was an emergency or you really needed something, but it was supposed to be a whisper. That's the only time you're supposed to talk. You are not supposed to. They're like, honestly, don't even hold the door open for somebody else. Don't smile at anybody else. You are here to do the work on yourself. Dang. So nobody really did talk there. there's a saying, and on day 7 something did happen, we'll get into it, but for like, you can obviously can get sent home for like bad behavior, like if you do something stupid or like you talk and you're messing up other people's practice, they probably would expect you to leave. But everyone's there to work, everyone's there for a good reason, so most of the, like, we didn't have any instances, but yeah, you weren't supposed to talk, you weren't really even supposed to acknowledge anybody else. Like, you're literally just supposed to be there in your head for yourself. They're like, don't smile at other people, don't open the door for other people, nothing, no type of communication. You're there to be with yourself.
So could you tell me about the daily schedule and what that was like for you?
Yeah. So the daily schedule was you wake up at 4, technically, and it's weird because we do have alarm clocks in the rooms, but they do things in a way where, since we don't have our phones or stuff like that to communicate, there's bells throughout the facility. So you would wake up in the morning at 4 o'clock as the wake up bell. So they go ging and you hear the bell, and that's when you
4?
Yeah, 4 o'clock in the morning is the wake up bell. 4:30, another bell hits, and that means you are supposed to start meditating. So there is one main meditation center in the middle of the facility. Also, just two, they separate men and women completely. Like, we only saw each other in the meditation hall. Other than that, on one side of the facility was the women, the other side was the men. The dining hall, we had separate dining halls.
Wow.
We only saw each other in the meditation room, and we were on separate sides anyways. So they separated men and women. And so we would wake up at 4 o'clock was the wake up bell. 4:30 was time to meditate. 4:30 until 6:30, you either meditate in your room or you go to the hall to meditate. After 6:30 is breakfast. Breakfast/rest period is what they call it, is 6:30 until 8. 8 o'clock, another bell rings. 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock is mandatory that you are in the hall meditating, that you meditate with people. So 8 to 9, you're meditating with people. 9 to 11, you can stay in the hall or you can leave and go to your room to meditate. But we meditate again from 9 until 11. 11 o'clock is our lunch. So 11 to 12 is lunch. And then 12 to 1 is like rest period again, which is kind of like they have a walking path. You can walk the path if you want to walk the path. You can do your laundry if you do the laundry, or if you had questions, that was time for the interviews with the teacher. So that was from 12 to 1. And then 1 until 2 was self-meditation or hall meditation. 2 until 3 was mandatory meditation in the hall. I know this is a lot. Sorry.
No,
yeah.
it's fine.
So 2 to 3 was meditation in the hall. 3 to 5 was meditation wherever you please. 5 was a light snack. They did not serve dinner. It's fruit and tea. They call it tea time. And then pretty much from 7 till 8 is another mandatory meditation. 8 until 9 is a discourse. So they would play a video kind of based on like an explanation of what Vipassana is, where it originated from, what's the purpose of it, little insights that honestly, I was listening to this man speak and so many little gems, and it just means so much to me. The things that he says are just so enlightening and they make so much sense. It kind of explains why we're here, why we're doing this, and why the facility exists. But then there was that little section of learning, and then we'd meditate another hour and go to bed. So I think I counted it. It was pretty much a total of 11 hours meditation a day. 1 hour of video thing, and the rest is eating and like walking around.
So you're up at 4 a.m.
Yes.
And then you go to bed at 10 p.m.?
Lights out by 10. We're technically done by 9, but lights out at 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's not a lot of sleep.
I mean, if you think about it, lights out by 10, you wake up at 4, that's 6 hours.
6 hours. I guess. Yeah, it's just like, it feels like that's such irregular, like sleeping schedule in a way. And the fact that also too, and like not irregular per se, but also it just feels short.
Yeah.
But then on top of that too, is that they didn't feed you dinner. Yeah. And so was that on purpose? Was there a science behind that? So
it's weird too though, because like, there's certain rules of the facility for new students, and old students have a little bit of a different rule too. It's the same basic ones, but old students don't even get the light snack. After lunch at 11, they're only supposed to have lemon with water. They shouldn't even really have they can have tea, but with no milk. So I think it's kind of also like, and I knew this before, it's technically better for you to meditate on an empty stomach. Like you're not supposed to be full when meditating. It's just kind of the practice of it. But for me, that was the most hardest thing because I'm ravenous. I eat so much. I'm a sleep eater. I wake up in the middle of the night and eat. That was what was rough for me. I was like, I just want food at night. But I think there's a reason behind it. It's because it's easier to meditate and get into the zone when you're not completely stuffed. As humans, we actually do eat way more than we actually need to sustain. So, and part of it too is at the end, they also brought into it how with this practice, the effect that it's supposed to have on the body is like, when it comes to sleep and stuff and energy, it's like the effect it's supposed to have on your mental kind of also means like you're not wasting energy. It helps with stress. It's pretty much essentially there to help relieve you of your own misery, which is like overthinking and living in your head. So since you're not wasting energy up here all the time, they're like, you'd be surprised. A lot of people who practice this don't eat a lot of sleep or a lot of food. Like naturally, their body just has the energy because they're not wasting it on pointless things.
Fascinating. Sorry, I'm like just over here kind of stunned, just thinking about all the different things that you had gone through. I know that you'd shared a little bit too about the fact that there was something that happened on like day 7.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what happened?
On day 7 I feel like was the roughest for most of the people. I know it was definitely a rough day for me, which is odd because you're like, it's day 7.
Yeah.
I'm almost done. You know what I mean? We should feel great. But day 7 was the day that stuff actually was the most eventful, I would say. Day 7, on the girl side, one of the girls left. Nobody else left besides that. One of the girls left on day 7. And then on day 7, I wasn't there because I'm not on the men's side, obviously. But on the men's side, we can hear some guy literally like screaming and like punching something. I'm pretty sure he got sent home. But yeah. So day 7 was eventful.
Wow. And you could hear him?
Yeah. Because we're outdoors, like, especially the desert, too. Like, it's a flat, open surface. Like, we were in the desert for this. So, they have facilities all over the world. This one, you can hear everything.
But so the building that you were in, was it more like a dormitory?
And so, it's interesting. Because, once again, like, 2 different sides. Each side was a replica of the same, I guess, with the middle being the dining hall and the actual hall where we meditate. So, the main buildings were in the middle, but then, like, on each side, there were 3 other buildings. One consisted of little apartments. Well, 2 consisted of little apartments. And then the one I stayed in was actually like a dormitory where you walk in and there's rooms and you stay in the rooms, and we had one shared bathroom. But the other rooms, the other 2 buildings, like had their own bathrooms in the rooms. And the way that they did that, though, we realized this, is it kind of goes by seniority or like with age. Like everybody in the dorms was in their late to early 30s, and everybody who was in like their own little things was anybody above like their 30s or whatever. So it's kind of based off of that. I feel like they give like the older women more of their own privacy type of rooms. And it's just based off of how much room they have too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Fascinating. I think also too is like, when you kind of look back on the experience that you've had.
Yeah.
Right. How has this sort of chain of events, in a way, this experience as a whole, really sort of shaped you and sort of maybe changed some of your current thought processes?
Oh, man. So, a lot, honestly. I kind of want to go into like the whole purpose of Vipassana in a way, I guess, is like, it's once again, they say it's kind of like they're very big on just be happy. They just honestly want people to be happy. Like we end the meditation with a saying that's literally like, I wish happiness on all, please be happy. And the whole point of it is like, what they focus on is like, we create so much stress by the way we react to things. Essentially, they believe that like all suffering in a way is created from either attachment to a thing or abortion of a thing. So when you think about that, if you're attached to something, you finally get something that feels good, right? Then when that good thing's taken away from you, us as humans, we're naturally trying to find everything then to get that feeling again. Mm-hmm. We don't like just a regular feeling. We want that ecstasy type of feeling. So that's why even good things like attachment to something is not really good for the human spirit, is because then you're longing for something all the time. And when it comes to abortion, it's like, if you have a bad feeling, we're always trying to fight these bad feelings. Oh, I don't like this feeling. Let me run away from it. Let me distract myself. Like, and they're like, what this is essentially doing, you sitting with yourself. And I can talk you through the meditation process, but what it's kind of teaching you is to sit with yourself. And they talk about the law of nature all the time, where everything in nature is essentially always dying and being reborn, right? Nothing's actually permanent in this world. As humans, we're so fixated on always feeling good and always having this permanent thing, and we think everything's always a life or death scenario, or that like it has to last forever. But like, it's weird because when you actually acknowledge that like it's just a part of nature, that everything that's bad will go away and everything that's good will go away, you're not really like worried anymore. Like, it teaches you kind of like to sit there and realize like these feelings and aches in my body right now, like they shall pass. And every good feeling at my body shall pass. It teaches you to not react to things.
And also too, you know, you talk about, it taught you not to really sort of react to the situations that you were dealing with. But then also on top of that too, is that I also would, because of that, if you feel comfortable sharing with me and the viewers, what was some of the stuff that came up for you while you were meditating?
It's so weird when you spend so much time with yourself, how I'm sitting there, I'm like, I've done a lot of work on myself. You know, I do all the things, I do the self-help stuff. I've went to different therapists over the years. Like, I truly do aim to be the best version of myself and have a calm and collected mind. So going in, I was like, I think I'll be okay, bro. I didn't realize how crazy I actually still was.
So what came up for you?
Like, anything and everything. Like, situations that happened from like middle school that I don't even remember. Like, it's the weirdest thing, is like I just thought absolutely about anything and everything. I thought about my family a lot, which was some subjects I've gone into previously. And there was a time too where it's like I thought about how much I missed some people that like I don't see anymore. But then there were also times where I just felt so much love and appreciation for the people who are in my life right now. There were situations that I thought about of people like that I had like wasn't even close with before, who have passed like from high school, and I was like, huh. Then there's people that like I'm still close with too, and I'm like, you would think about anything and everything. There was one point where I'm like, why am I thinking about this person that wasn't even like relevant in my life? They were just somebody I met in passing.
Yeah.
Like, there were times where I would think about scenarios about the podcast where I'm like infatuating things and being like, this is gonna be great. Or there were times where I would picture us, unfortunately, like not doing so well. Or there were times, you know what I mean? Like,
so you were like looking at like both extremes constantly.
Yes. And it's so weird though, because the point of meditation is to also get out of your head.
Yeah. So how did you look at two polarizing perspectives while still feeling like grounded in those moments? Or maybe you weren't grounded in those moments and it was harder to self-actualize.
So that's weird though, is because like, if anything, looking at these thoughts, I'm just like, we all create so many scenarios in our head that half the time don't happen. Or once again, I think about the past and the future and I'm like, this time actually doesn't even exist right now. Like right now, what exists is this moment that I'm in, and I'm thinking about it too. Like, it's just proven that we live in these different times, but all that matters right now is actually here. Another thought that I had was like, I took care of everything before leaving. I told everybody that needed to know I was gone, that I was leaving. Like, there should be nothing in the back of my head to worry about, right? Like, when it comes to the hospital, my clients, you. But for some reason, I was still itching to get back to my life. Yeah. But I'm like, get back to this is my life right now. This is what I'm doing right now. This is my life. Why am I searching for something that right now actually doesn't even exist because I'm not doing it?
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird how we're constantly just trying to get back to something that's like external to identify with. But no, for the most part, when it came to the meditation, I was able to sit and clear my mind probably 50% of the time. But it's weird because when you're sitting there also like doing the practices that they tell you to practice, you don't have the same emotional attachment to things as when you're like moving throughout your day and something pops up in your head. You're kind of just analyzing, being like, oh, that's weird. Why is my brain thinking this? Like, it's kind of just analyzing and also realizing that like your brain just makes things up as it goes.
Do you think you sort of become like a third party perspective on your own existence?
Yeah, completely.
Fascinating. Okay, because then that brings in a whole list of other things, right, that can come up.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fascinating that people go and do these. And, you know, I consider you a very strong-willed human. And so for you, did you kind of feel like you almost had to like relinquish and let go of a lot of those feelings? Because I think people try to hold on to so much control all the time. And in those moments, like you were only in control of what you saw fit for you. Right. So how was that in sort of a way, letting go of your ego and letting go of control?
There was one, it's so funny because when it comes to things with you and this podcast or like my clients, that's where I feel most at peace in my life because it's what I've created. So all those things I was easily able to talk myself down with. I'm like, Matt's good. My clients are good. Like they're people. Yeah. And it's so weird though, because for some reason on day 7, I'm like, why did it take me till day 7 to think about the hospital? You know what I mean? And I realized that I'm an independent contractor, so I really don't have to tell anybody I was gone. But in my head, I realized I didn't tell like the company that I work with that I was leaving. And I'm like, what if for some reason like something happened at the hospital? Like there was some type of mishap that I was involved in and they needed to get a hold of me. Like, and I was just like, I'm like, I really need my phone. I just need to check it. And I was like, should I ask her? Should I just ask her if she can check my phone to see if they've called me? And I started like bargaining with myself. And I was walking on the path and I was just like, dude, this is why you're here. Like you're here to like not stress about the things that you can control and realize that even if something did happen while you were gone, you're here in this moment and that shall pass too. And you'll be okay after, regardless if something happened or not.
Yeah.
And I had to like literally bring myself down to earth. And once I finally was like, oh, you're testing me, huh? Like, I get it now. I get it. But yeah, oddly enough, it took till day 7 for me to do that.
Yeah.
But thankfully, too, in the meditation hall, it's really easy, actually, the way that they frame it for you to not feel the need to get up and leave. Because what they tell you all the time is you're not supposed to be thinking about things when you're meditating. That's the point. You're supposed to be focusing on what you're supposed to be focusing on.
Yeah.
So, like, it doesn't even... Only time you are supposed to leave room to even react is, like, when you're in your free time. But... Really? And to bring you into the meditation a little bit is how they kind of train you is when you think of meditation, what do you think? Let me ask you that.
Sitting with yourself.
Okay.
Your thoughts. Sitting in a place of peace, maybe calm. Mm-hmm. That's and when I think about meditation, I immediately think about doing like the guided meditation stuff that I just know best of. And so that's kind of my very small background with that work. So I'm curious to know what yours was like.
Yeah. So especially too, because you could have probably done research before going to this place. I didn't do too much research. I'm like, what I get myself into, I'm getting myself into. And for me, meditation, until this, I'm like, I thought I was a rockstar meditator. I'm like, I'm such a lazy meditator, man. Because I love...
How so?
For me, meditation was detaching from your mind and your body, and in a way like floating in this like just calmness and having no thoughts, having no sensations, just being. That's what meditation was for me. And when I thought about just being, it was actually easy for me to shut my brain off through practice a lot. But I started with guided meditations. It's real easy for you to sink into things when you have like a soothing sound or somebody guiding you. This meditation wasn't like that. This meditation, and I didn't know they did it this way either. As the days went on, they described to us the different meditations we're doing. But this meditation was you were supposed to tone into your body. Like you're not supposed to get out of your body. You're supposed to stay in it, which was completely weird for me.
Yeah.
So they started with something called like Anapana, I think is how you say it. And it's for your meditation. Instead of trying to control your breath, which a lot of meditations do, it's like focus on your nose area. Focus on just the way you're breathing. Analyze the way you're breathing. Focus on how the air feels coming out of your nose and touching your upper lip. So we did that for 4 days. Is while you're sitting there, you're literally just supposed to be like feeling this area, this triangle, where your nose and your lips are. That was the first meditation. You're not supposed to think about anything. You're just supposed to focus on this area. That's it. Okay. And the point is to kind of like sharpen your mind into that one specific area. After that, on day 5 is when you start practicing Vipassana is what it's called, meditation. And that is the point where what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to sit there. And also, too, when I meditate, I lay down. So me sitting up, this was insanely uncomfortable. sitting up for that long throughout the days. You're supposed to focus on your entire body. So what they say is scan your body. Start at like the top of your head, feel what's there. Because essentially, they even say this, essentially your body is just a big cluster of atoms and energy, right? Like you have sensations going on in your body every single second, actually. But as humans, we never focus on our body, so we don't feel it. So you're meant to scan your body. Start with your head. Once you feel a sensation there, go down to your forehead. Once you feel a sensation there, go down to here. And then you just scan your body for every single sensation. And the trick is you can't move. You're not supposed to move. You're supposed to sit as still as possible. And if something is uncomfortable, sit with it and move on.
How does someone move on?
You move on to the next part of the body.
Oh, interesting.
And a lot of times moving on to the other part of the body, you'd be surprised that you get back to that spot and it feels different. It might not feel better, but it feels different because once again, the body's just energy anywhere in the world is constantly dying and being reborn. The whole point is when you tune into your body, realizing this, it's like you're training your nervous system to realize this pain or the sensation that I'm having, it's eventually going to go away.
Yeah.
I don't have to acknowledge it. I don't have to react to it. I see it for what it is, acknowledge it, and I move on. So you're training your nervous system to do that. And the point of it is like then in life, when you have that reaction, because everything that happens to you, it starts in the brain, but it has a physical reaction.
Yeah.
Whenever you start to become like miserable or attached to something or trying to abort a sensation, like your breath changes, your body changes. This teaches your body to like, and your mind to be like, it'll pass. It's okay. But that's what the meditation after day 5 was analyze your body, realize that this pain is not permanent.
Can you talk to us about like what was some of the pain you were experiencing? If at all possible.
Most of it was in my back area. Because once again, I'm a lazy meditator, I realized. And just, I'm not even going to lie to you. In the facility, everybody there, I cannot praise them enough. They are so nice. Where there was a point I realized people started either leaning against the wall or like they got some type of backrest from somewhere. So I talked to the manager. I'm like, do I have, my back is killing me. It's really like preventing me. They're like, we're not here to make you miserable. Like, please, if you do need assistance and it's that unbearable, like we do want to help. So I got a backrest on around day 6.
Got it. And so you did talk.
Yeah, like a little bit. It wasn't, no, it wasn't, but
you spoke.
There was a point too when I was walking around the path, I think it was like on day 4, I started talking to myself too, because I'm like, is it still there? Do I still have a voice box? Do I still have a sound? Am
I going to end up like Ariel?
Yeah, I'm like, is it there? But yeah, no, it's so funny. When I heard my voice again, I was like, it's just the craziest thing. But yeah, that's essentially what it's meant to do though, is teach you that like things come and they go and they pass.
Yeah.
Essentially, this is kind of like, and it's weird too. Oh, there's so much I can go into. It's weird too, because when they get there, they're like, this is for all religions. Because a lot of times people, meditation and stuff, it carries like a type of religious thing to it. No?
For sure.
Yeah. So they're like, this is for all religions, but we want you to leave all your beliefs to the side for now. Technically, I think it is based on Buddhism though, because like, yeah, it talks about Dhamma a lot and like Buddha and lessons that he's teaching and some things that the teacher actually said stuck with me so hard. And it just proved so many things. Like an example he gave was like, if somebody gave you a watch from like a foreign country, you couldn't get the parts here, and it's a very expensive, nice watch, and it broke, how would you feel?
Upset.
Yeah. You
feel sad.
Yeah. But if I had a nice watch and it broke, how would you feel?
I mean, I'd probably be like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, not as bad, right?
Yeah.
It's your attachment to that thing, though. So it's like our attachment to things is what's actually making us miserable. That's like one of the things he said. I'm like, that actually does make a lot of sense.
So did they encourage people kind of in their everyday lives to not create sort of attachments to, say, like physical objects or just attachments in general? I
think attachments to everything is what the goal is, because the saddest things, honestly, it teaches that life never really goes as planned a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, life is only sunshine, is mostly not sunshine and rainbows, but you can make it sunshine and rainbows is what it kind of teaches. There was another thing where like they were talking about Buddha. This woman goes up to Buddha with like her dead son. and was like, bring him back to life. Please help me. Please help me. Like, I'm so sad, this and that. Like, she's like, my son's not dead. He's just sleeping. Wake him up. Like, can't accept the fact that her son's dead, right? And he was like, okay, go to a house and get me like mustard seeds or something, right? But these mustard seeds have to be from a house where none of their family members have died. So this woman goes to the house asking for mustard seeds, but she's like, oh, nobody could have died in your family. And she then realizes, oh, this is a part of nature. Like, there is nobody in the world where their family member hasn't died. And that helped her then accept the fact that her son was dead.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, it talks about attachment to just like nothing, and accepting that, like, once you accept this is just nature's way, like, how are you going to argue with it?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you think in a sort of a way, though, it sort of untaught a form of empathy? Or do you think it like recreates a new form of empathy because there is no attachment?
It's so weird that you say that. And I do agree in a sense where I was like, that's kind of disheartening though at the same time. But it's so weird though, because, and I kind of feel this too in myself before I went in after even more so, where it's like, when you're not attached to things and when you're calmer, you are happier within yourself. Therefore, like, your heart's, because that's our natural state of being. It's like, the reason why so many people are angry and like they need reassurance from things is because they're suffering in a way. When you actually just feel good within yourself, your heart opens up. Mm-hmm. And that's the last thing besides Vipassana they taught us was metta, which is at the end of your meditation of like the Vipassana meditation. Metta is just giving love and wishing wellness on everybody else. It's weird because when you have that energy shift and you feel better in yourself, like, you have just so much more empathy and love for everybody else, where when you see suffering, don't get me wrong, it still like makes you feel a certain way, but instead of it being detrimental to you, it opens your heart to be like, I'm sorry for your situation. Let me try to help you and make you feel better. It's weird how it works. I don't know how to describe it, but like, it's when you feel better and your heart's actually open and you're calm in yourself, like, yeah, the empathy gets stronger.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I just want to help people. Then I feel so good. I want them to feel better.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes from almost like an empathy, but from a very logical standpoint.
Yeah.
Because I think empathy has obviously like a spectrum of, you know, of care and feel. Mm-hmm. And it's really fascinating. Come from like it's very compartmentalized in a way, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
So I really love that perspective. And man, wow.
It's hard to explain though, because it makes.
Yeah, no, it's just because it's a feeling.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, right? And it's crazy to think, because like, I even feel it now. It's when you're calm and you're not like, we talk about energy, right, all the time. When you're calm and you're just in yourself though, the people who are upset, like, instead of you like forcing yourself to come up with a reason why they're upset or they're in their own misery or in their own head, you're just like, man, I feel for you. I want to help you. Like, you just radiate and you walk different and things feel different. Your empathy doesn't go away. It gets stronger. Even though like the whole like conscious mind thing of like, oh, that's so sad goes away. Mm-hmm. It's the weirdest thing ever. One thing I love these little metaphors he was bringing up, because they made me smile so much. And I think maybe a lot of us identify with religion to like save us, right?
For sure.
And we all like stay angry at the world and ourselves, and we create scenarios in our head, and we think just because we go to church on a Sunday or we idolize a God and we pray to them that we're going to end up better in the end, right? A lot of us agree that like, you go to church on Sunday and that's what's going to make you be a good person. Well, for one, what kind of God has such a big ego that just because you praise him every single day means that like he's going to send you there? No, God is love. God is hope. God is generosity and caring. So like, instead of praising him every day, he would want you to walk in the path that he wants to be, right? Yeah. And I guess there was another time where like, I guess somebody brings like their parent to Buddha and is like, you're this enlightened being, right? Please like help him go to heaven, whatever. So he said, go fill a pot with stones, fill a pot with butter, and throw it in the river. Crack them open. The stones fall to the bottom and the butter will float to the top. He's like, now bring all your priests and have the priests pray that the stones are going to float and the butter will sink. It's impossible. He's like, why are you coming to me right now and asking me to change something that's of this physical earth and he's already passed? Like, no amount of religion or like praying for something or hoping for something, it's you have to act. If you're light like butter, you're going to go up. If you're heavy like a stone, you're going to sink. That's how you have to treat every single day in this world. Be light or be heavy. And like, to me, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool too. There were so many little cool analogies that he made. Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, it brings an interesting perspective because like we talk so much about like the idea of, you know, that positivity in a way, but also I think we talked a little bit about this too, was like toxic positivity and how it can actually weigh us down simply just because we're choosing like, oh, everything's fine. We're going to be fine.
It's about accepting the reality of things and just being happy with it.
Yes.
And just being light and accepting.
And through that, and I think that is one of the most important things that I'm taking away so much from what you're shared today is just like the idea of acceptance is what then creates, in a way, a lighter spirit because you were able to create that empathy for yourself and everyone around you because you were able to create, again, the acceptance from it, which I think is so beautiful. And it's just something that's not really ever talked about too much. So it's such a fascinating perspective.
Everybody there too, when we were talking the last day, they're like, we all thought we were going to have some like crazy feeling or searching for something, right? You go to a 10-day meditation, you're going to talk to some like existential being or like have some type of flashback, and everyone's like, it was just being very present in yourself. But it's like weird because the magic then comes after with how you feel in your everyday life or how sensitive you are to the things outside of you. Though driving home through the desert in my convertible, it always feels good, but it just felt different, you know. And also too, when you accept things for how they are, like instead of being that's what a lot of people told me with this. They're like, nothing can make me angry anymore. They're like, instead of being reactive and getting angry at things, when you accept things for how they are, then like your outcomes just get better. You're like, okay, I see. You trained your nervous system instead of being like, let me make this better, to be like, okay, this is what it is. Let's figure it out.
I love that because you're like, you come out of fight or flight.
Yeah.
And that's just all people sometimes pray for is like, how do I stop being so fight or flighty?
Completely.
Yeah.
And it's so much respect the way that this facility does things too. Because even on your downtimes on the day off, then it's definitely, besides like the meditation process with feeling your body, accepting things for how they are, is like the fact that you signed that paper. It even like, I was walking around this path that I walked around for like the 100th freaking time probably. And you're like, I have to just accept the fact that I'm here, even though I literally don't want to be here anymore.
Wow.
Because it's crazy being by yourself in silence. Like, I work out every single day. I'm not even kidding you. The first day I was there, I counted the steps around one circle of the path. So I'm like, okay, I can get my 10,000 steps in if I do this amount of times. Because we're all so used to how we do things on a daily basis. But it truly just makes you sit there and be like, I am here.
Wow.
I can't tell you how happy I got just from sitting there one day making a little stone sculpture in the sand. I was like a little kid. I'm like, I haven't felt this happy just from doing something this simple in a very long time.
Truly.
Yeah.
Because when you surrender yourself to that level,
yeah,
right, you become the most vulnerable, most raw, most, honestly, in a way, sort of most childlike you're ever become. And that's what we always talk about so much is like discovering the inner child. And I think that's like such a beautiful way to also go about it as well. So cool.
It's just, I've never seen anything like it. And I think they're doing such an amazing thing there.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And that being said, you know, kind of wrapping up this discussion of the day, what is one thing that you feel that people could really take away as someone who might be interested in wanting to do this?
I've been saying this and I'll say it again. There's so much I can say about this place, but I genuinely think that if everybody in the world did this, the world would be a better place. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I can't wait to, you know, talk about this more in depth on a variety of other topics and how it's, you know, connected so much to your own personal experience. And with that, I just want to say, you know, thank you so much for listening today. Also, too, we'll be putting in information regarding your retreat as well in the link for this video. as well in today's episode. So thank you so much, Christina. For
No, of course. And I also want to add to there that like, even this conversation only really scratched the surface of things that I've gotten from it, or like the experience that I had.
Yeah.
And on their website and even in pamphlets they've given us, they're like, and by no means was this meant to teach anybody how to do this type of meditation or how to live this like path in life. They're like, you can share your experience, which is what I plan to do here. But like, if anything, encourage people to come and experience it for themselves.
Truly.
So I just want to put that out there too. But yeah.
Amazing.
Link some information, please. It was a truly intense, enlightening experience.
I'm glad. And I'm glad you came out the other side well. Because it takes a lot.
Didn't feel like it when I was in it, but yeah, for sure. So yeah, no, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share this amazing experience that I went through with you and the world. And thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, I love you.
Thank you.